Call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. We're all going to stand and do the flag salute. Ready? Begin.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Kiefer.
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Counselor Baumgartner?
Here.
Counselor Prophet? Counselor Salata?
Here.
Here. Counselor Rockwell?
Here.
Counselor Pettigrew?
Here.
All right, we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. We have the meeting minutes from the city council meeting minutes from June 4th, 2024. But did everybody get a chance to read those minutes? Okay, can I get a motion?
Move to approve minutes of June 4th, 2024 city council meeting is presented.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any comments, discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we're gonna go on to the financial report. Marta?
Thank you. In front of you, I handed out the final for May 31st, 2024. And I remembered finally this time that previously I had given you a short little report, and so I included that this time for you as well. So you have that breakdown. So just going over what's in there, we have received 101% of our general property taxes that we budgeted. So that's really exciting. And for our GO bond taxes, we are going to see most likely a budgetary shortfall. We are about 98% of what we had budgeted, with about 25,000 being the shortfall, and we probably will only receive another 2,000 in that for the GO bond. But we have made our June payment, because in July, so we'll go ahead and say that, but we have made our GO bond payment, which was due in June. And we did have enough in there to pay for it, because we always leave kind of a small reserve because of the cash flow and the timing of things. So we're okay with that payment. Our building fund, our city hall expansion is complete. We still have not received the final payment application for that project. But we're expecting to pay out about $320,000 for that final payment. In our capital project, financial wise, we're approximately 79% complete. We've made almost $8.5 million in payments so far for that project for the phase 2. And again, it will be completed this next fiscal year. So I would entertain any questions if you have any.
Anybody have any questions on the financial report?
And I did not include a preliminary June. I didn't get to that. We've been kind of shorthanded, and so we've all been wearing the multiple hats. So I apologize, I don't have that one for you today.
We don't have any questions. I think we'll move on to the public hearing. So I'm going to, the public hearing on declaring surplus real property is called to order. This was publicly noticed as surplus. However, only one of the listed properties will be addressed in this hearing. The public hearing this evening will be conducted as follows: staff report, public testimony, order, any testimony in support of the action, any testimony opposing the action, any neutral testimony. Then we will close the public testimony. After the record is closed for testimony, no other testimony will be heard from anyone unless the city council has a specific question. The city council may ask questions of staff, after which the city council will discuss the matter and make a decision. The city council may make a final decision tonight, or the matter may be continued time or date certain in the future. If the matter is continued, this will be the only notice of that time and date you will receive. If you wish to speak, please fill out a testimony form and submit it to the city clerk. I will recognize those people wishing to speak. Any questions should be addressed through me. Please state both your name and address for the record when you come to the podium. As the hearing is being recorded, please keep testimony concise and to the point. Testimony should be on the action under consideration. City Manager Brandon Hammond will now present the staff report.
Perfect, thank you so much. So we're talking about the old city shop on Main Street. Asking it to be surplus. We had an appraisal of that. Came in around $300,000 for everything. We have an interested party, Dr. Earl, who wants to put a clinic there. So that is that property. I also have three, so when we surplused, whenever that was, the Northeast Front Street properties, the number 400, 300, and 200, it was not listed with an appraised value. So I reached out and got some information. Did you want to show that? So the 400, I don't know what one that is, if that's the. Yep. So those three right there in the blue.
Can you hold on for a second?
Yep. Okay, we good?
Good.
Thank you. So, the one on the far right is 400, then it goes 300, then 200. So the 200 is the splash pad, and then you have the soccer fields. Those were surplus. When were they surplus? Like a year ago, something like that. So when they were surplus, just to make it the correct process, there needed to be appraisal. So the 400, the appraise what range that I got was about from 64,000 to about 138. The same thing with the 300, which is right there. And then that 200, it was estimated about 57,000 to 132,000. So that's just for your information.
All right, is there any additional correspondence beyond those items included in the council packet?
Nope.
Okay. So does anyone wish to speak in favor of the action? Okay. Does anyone wish to speak against the action? Does anyone have any testimony?
Yeah, I do. Is there a plan for relocation of the splash pad?
Yes, there is. The plan is to put it over by City Hall,
Okay,
just right here.
and like, what's the certainty that that's gonna happen? I know it attracts a lot of people during the summer. We don't have a lot.
Like if we sell those lands,
Mhm.
100%.
Okay, that was it, one question.
I'm sorry, what was your name for the record?
Me,
Yes, what was your name?
Bobby Barnes.
Kathy?
Kathy Street, 655 Southwest Mount Hood Avenue. Are you talking about these properties or about the old city hall next to Benner Bank?
Those three have been surplus, but yes.
Correct.
The old city shop next to Banner Bank.
Thank you.
So, there was neutral testimony. Does the city manager wish to provide a rebuttal in regard to the neutral testimony? We're good? Okay, so the public testimony portion of the hearing is now closed. Is there any discussion by the city council?
The dog park is part of that, right? Or no?
Not in this.
The soccer field then,
Yep, soccer field and the
so are
splash
there
pad.
plans for that to be moved?
There are.
Yep.
Yep, so actually, and I got permission. Can you scroll? To where? Just move it that way.
No,
because these are
All their pictures, okay.
Okay, so right here, here's the. You're too short, thanks, Chief. So soccer field. This is the property owned by the Catholic Church. I just met with Father Luis, and we're looking at moving the soccer field over to here. So he just needs to go through his steps, but our
informal, local level, he agrees that we do that, he just has to go through some steps.
So. Public hearing is now closed. We are going to move on to introductions. I guess we have some new employees and new positions.
Yeah, so the main focus for tonight was to introduce Jose Ponce, our new public works worker, and Humberto Sanchez, another public works worker. And in fact, they don't know this, but I'm gonna ask if they do like a 2 to 3 minute presentation. No, so being like from Boardman, and if I get emotional, sorry, but it's just pretty cool. Obviously I was at the high school with Bert, and it's just that whole, I don't know, just pretty cool. See him, and again, we, the staff at the city is truly amazing. We really like, our public works department is rock solid, and it's just cool to have Jose here too. So thank you guys for coming. I know it was like you weren't expecting all of this. But again, thank you, really, they, great addition to the staff.
All right, so we're gonna move on to our pre-arranged presentations. We have a presentation by Nathan Wildfire. He is on Zoom today, and he's gonna do a presentation on the missing middle housing fund.
And there should be a link.
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
Hi, folks. Is audio and visual working okay?
Yep.
Yeah? Great. Thanks for making time for me tonight. I'm coming to you live from a cabin in West Virginia at my giant family reunion. So there's about 17 screaming people on the other side of this wall here who are have been told to be quiet. So thanks for your patience as we as you know, wildfires really do spread. And there's a lot of us. So thank you for your patience. Is the presentation up? Or is that a shared screen situation? Would you like me to share it from my computer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I will do.
Requiring an
Uh, you're gonna have to enable me to share. There we go.
Yeah, you know how to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it. All right. Are we operational?
Yep.
Great. All right. So just as a reminder, the last time I saw you was, I believe, in March, when I came and gave a presentation to your city council about the work that my nonprofit, the Missing Middle Housing Fund, does across the state to address housing production, particularly for our workforce. I was able to speak to a couple city councilors over the last couple days, and very happy to speak with all of you. I'd love to set that up for next week if you're able. But since I started speaking with Brandon and a lot of the different employers you see listed at the top of this slide back in the early spring, I've learned a lot about Boardman. And we continue to learn more. After speaking with you folks at council, we started to put together a working group of some of those employers, the school district, your city employees, and then started interviewing folks throughout your community. There's even a few that haven't made this yet. Yesterday, we spoke with Umatilla Electric, and again, now starting to work our way through city councilors. What we're focused on is housing for your workforce. So these are generally middle income folks. They're the folks that are employed up there. There's a lot of questions that keep coming up about affordable housing, and I want to make very clear that the Missing Middle Housing Fund, the organization I represent, doesn't really have a whole lot to do with lower income housing, big A affordable, the type you typically hear of or have seen as being subsidized by HUD. There's a lot of folks that do that, and I'm very grateful for their work, but that's not the work that the Missing Middle Housing Fund does. We tend to focus on housing for your traded sector economy, as well as your big employers. So we were brought on to try to think about how Boardman evolves as your population grows. You are now the fastest growing city in the state. Here's some of what we've learned. That 250 housing units isn't from a housing needs analysis. That was just going around the room at the port and seeing how many jobs that each employer there that day said, we have these jobs open because the potential employees can't find housing right now. I think you know these stats better than anyone. Your rents are rising, your median sales price for homes are rising. You are crunched. This is not unique to you in Boardman. This is a phenomenon across the entire state. It's particularly acute in places with growing economies, and yours is growing more than most. These are just some of the entities that are having trouble hiring and retaining. They identify the biggest barrier as housing right now. I hear over and over again, you know what you don't want. What people don't want, and I'll credit the mayor for this a little bit as well in our conversation. You know what bad housing looks like. You know what poorly managed housing looks like. And that's not poor quality housing is just something that nobody wants in Boardman. A thing that you love is that you know your neighbors. And there's a fear that as new housing is built, some of that connective tissue in your community might fray. And then nobody really wants to look like downtown Salem or Eugene or Portland. There's a character to your community that you want to preserve. That frankly is part of the reason why people love living there. So those are some of the things we've heard. Over and over again, we heard this from folks at Tillamook, from Boardman Foods, from some of you. The number one thing people said again and again is that no matter how your community changes, you want to be proud of where you live. Not just that goes for your city, but also for the homes that you live in, and that your neighbors live in, and that your family members live in, that your kids live in. You want to be proud of the place you call home. And you want to share in that vision. We also have heard over and over again, one size doesn't really fit all. In Boardman, it maybe never has, but there's an appetite for housing for seniors. There's an appetite for starter homes for folks that are just starting out, for some of the second and third generation in Boardman. And we heard again and again, how do we build a continuum of housing choices for folks as they age in place in Boardman? Without increased density, Boardman continues to lack some of the amenities that a lot of you want and you want in your community. And the employers cite this a lot. They cite the fact that as they're about to hire, it's harder for them to attract the types of employees they want without amenities. So it's a little bit of a catch-22. You don't really generally get amenities until you get greater population density. You are growing in population, and while it feels like there's a lot of housing development happening, it lags behind your growth. The American dream and a sense of control over how that change happens. Very meaningful community engagement and involvement is something that you value. And we hear that again and again, not just from the folks that work for your city, but also that work for the county, that work for the school district, that work for your large employers. Debbie from Boardman Foods said, look, once upon a time, we all changed all at once because the city had to literally move. Not a lot of communities get the chance to say, how are we going to change all at once? But you do have that chance. You have a rather unique confluence of economic prosperity, quite frankly, that a lot of Oregon does not. You have a fairly nimble city that you all play a role in shaping. And you've got a lot of talent. Brandon just introduced some of your new team today. I work all across the state, and I'm here to tell you that it's not as rosy of a picture in a lot of places as you have. How do you respect the culture of your place as change comes? Change is already here. Change is already in Boardman. So how do you actually give the folks that are your residents of tomorrow, your kids, young folks, the chance to become the leaders of tomorrow? It's really hard for them to have that chance if there's not a place for them to live as their families and their economic prosperity grows. And then, I think, Mayor, I'm going to call you out again. But one of the things was like, hey, we don't have to be first. Show us where this works in other places. There's a lot of great best practices out there. Let's vet those and try to bring those to Boardman. Let's begin. I heard your mayor say to me, why not us? We can lead. We can be at the cutting edge. It just needs to work for us. It needs to work for our community and our culture. A lot of times people have pretty big opinions. I showed you this slide the last time I was with you, but about why it costs so much and takes so long to create workforce housing for the folks that fuel your economy. And everybody has a boogeyman, and they're all kind of right. And so I regret to inform you, I don't have a silver bullet. My team doesn't have a silver bullet. The companies we work with don't have a silver bullet. There are just many, many different ways to try to reduce the cost to build and the time to build, not quality. Nobody ever wants to skimp on quality, but there are ways to reduce cost, which is one of the biggest barriers to actually building. If you talk to any local developer, they generally blame you. They blame the city, the state, the county. It's a red tape and a permitting and a zoning and an urban growth boundary boogeyman. And they're kind of right. It's a challenge to develop around the red tape that you all, with best of intentions over the last literally 100 years, have created to protect and your culture, your sense of place. But it's challenging to navigate that sometimes and build. Of course, if you talk to any national developer, they laugh at that and they say, well, that's the same in Boise. It's the same in Leavenworth. It's the same in Reno, Nevada. No matter where you go, you encounter red tape. So that's not really a big issue. What is an issue is the financing and funding to actually build homes. What we don't have, for instance, is we don't have a good commercial loan to actually build middle income housing. They don't exist. We don't have a great way to fund the infrastructure needed to actually grow our cities across Oregon: water, sewer, roads, sidewalks, parks. And so one of the things that we look at is not just how we alter and adjust our regulatory environment, but how we create new financial tools to build housing that, again, houses your growing workforce. If the governor is successful and raises housing starts over the next decade by 80%, our state economist tells us we'll be short 13,000 construction workers. So that's another place that we try to find innovation, getting new people into the pipeline of working in the trades, of working in construction, of working with their hands. We've done a pretty good job over the last 3 decades of disincentivizing working with your hands in our schools. And so trying to attract new folks, women, new Americans into the construction trades is part of this, working with your local schools, your local community colleges. And then also, how do we do more industrialized construction, actually building things in a factory that can show up on site and pop up in a moment? Your contractor base is smaller than the Willamette Valley, for instance, or Tri-Cities. So it just costs more to build in Boardman. The last quadrant is kind of the fun stuff that we like to talk about. It's building out of new materials like cross-laminated timber or geopolymer-based building blocks or prefabricated kitchens, prefabricated wall units that show up on site, changes to your supply chain. However, if you go back to the other quadrants, usually they're illegal by most local codes. No one knows how to build it unless they're taught, and nobody will ever fund something that outside of the box. So these are the three or the four types of boogeymen, but they also represent the four areas of innovation for you folks to think about. Where we might go next, I've been speaking a lot with the folks on our working group, which again are comprised of your biggest employers as well as the city. And we would like to hold an innovation summit for housing. Let's Build Boardman, August 6th. That's almost not much more than a month away, but this would be at the port. It's an all-day event where we bring together community members, stakeholders like you, folks that are developers, landowners, general contractors, and then people that were innovating around those four quadrants from all over the state and beyond would come to Boardman. When you get that many minds in one room, we tend to not like to be talking heads. We tend to prefer to actually put folks to work. And so that's the plan, is to actually launch some different working groups that would work on very real projects that day. We've got a few folks working on that event. Again, they're all your neighbors, your community members. We're starting to stand up a development committee to try to kickstart potential development projects in Boardman. Carla, your city planner, is heading up our policy group and the development group for that matter. And you don't have to change everything all at once. You just pick something, right? And start tweaking one of your policies. And that's kind of going to be driven by you, because none of those things happen without city council. And then financing tools. Think outside the box about how you actually provide some financial incentives, some sort of revolving investment fund is a common way to do this. Tools that actually help you optimize and start building the things you want to build in your community while protecting the culture and the sense of place you love so much about your home. My apologies that I haven't been able to speak with all of you yet. Brenda was able to be at our first two different events. I just connected with Christina and Heather only in the last couple days. I was able to speak with the mayor. Ethan and Karen, I think you have messages in your inbox. I'd love to speak with you next week. And Richard, I got a note that I shouldn't call you after 4. And since I'm on the East Coast, that's been tricky, but or call you till after. But yeah. So that's what I had to say. I'd look to Brandon about what else you want me to share. But quite frankly, we're a statewide nonprofit. None of this really works without your community. Spent along with my team learning about your community, and now it's time to kind of bring back what we've learned and actually start to engage with all of you, your neighbors, the folks you work with, live with, play with, worship with, and actually start to think about doing things. It's still early. In fact, it's very early, but it's been exciting to get to know your city and your community. Brandon, what am I missing?
Nothing, just like questions from the council.
Anybody have any questions for Ethan?
I've already seen this. I was at the the latest meeting. I was there and got to sit in with everybody, and then obviously did the presentation too. It was somewhat similar to what we just read today. I think the important thing is that we understand that it is not low income housing. I think that was set from the start. And so there is a difference. And I think that was part of the problem. A lot of people thought it was low income housing. It just wasn't true. So
I guess I'm more interested in probably what he thinks that the incentive from the city should be. So whether we discuss that tonight or in August, I'm okay with that. But, and on your original panel, hardly any of those people on there live in Boardman. They may work here, we're back to that, they work here, they draw their money from here, they're gonna make decisions for Boardman. And then go home to some other town. So I think that we should have that as a consideration when we're putting together panels of people to speak for Boardman. That they might live here and have a vested interest in us. Because we have seen developers over. I'm the oldest one here, probably in the room even. But we've seen the developers with the great hot ideas. Give us the big hot idea. And then leave town and the little house down the street the roof starts leaking and there's nobody to call. And so I hope when we start doing this affordable housing, that we really take into consideration who's at the table. And I want it to be people from Boardman that make decisions for Boardman. So. There you go, mister. You might not have to call me.
Does anybody else have anything to Wellfire?
So the August 6th thing, that would just be. I know you said something about not talking heads, but wanting to actually do something. What is you want to do that?
Oh, so the way the day works is, and Brandon just came to our last one that we held in Portland. We've done this in Portland and Newburgh and Bend. About to do one in Tillamook. After a short introduction, basically working groups are formed. You self-select which working group you would like to participate in. We have facilitators, multiple facilitators for each working group. So there's a policy one, there's a labor one, there's a development materials design one, and then there's a funding and finance one. And so what functionally happens is people spread out into those different groups, and then you get to work. You start thinking, okay, well, what is the universe of solutions we might propose and work on over the next few months to a year? I'll give you an example. So when we did this in Newburgh, the mayor of Newburgh, Bill Rossiker, came, and he was kind of a curmudgeon, to be honest. He was the biggest skeptic and a very vocal skeptic in the room. We almost had to kick him out, in fact. But by the end of the day, he was like, I get it. And this is what I want to do. And so he organized the other 9 mayors of Yamhill County, and he put together what he calls the mayoral working group. And so since that day, and that's a whole year, that was like 13 months ago, every month, the mayor of Newburgh brings together and this was launched that day, brings together the mayors of Yamhill County to talk about workforce housing. And it took them a couple months, but they eventually landed on a project, which is to digitize all of the zoning codes across Yamhill County. And they're working with a group that essentially uses a proprietary software that kind of feels like Google Maps. It's like Google Maps for zoning, to reduce their zoning permit review times and increase the quality of their zoning permit applications from both developers, but also do-it-yourselfers, right? That are trying to put a deck on the back of their house or whatever. And that was just born out of that day. He was a former contractor, so he decided that's what he wanted to lead. And so he convinced the other mayors of Yamhill County to do it with him. Another example from that day was we had a few banks in the room. We had a foundation in the room. We had some CFOs from like the local university and a couple of the companies. And they decided they were going to launch a revolving investment fund. So they went out and with their collective oomph, they raised $3 million from the state of Oregon through the help of their local representative. And today that is now a revolving loan fund for different workforce housing projects, which otherwise can't really access that type of financing early in their projects, especially if they're a little outside the box. So those are just like two examples of what could be born on August 6th, but we don't really know what's going to come out of it until you all show up. Because it's really driven by you. Now, of course, we sprinkle a whole bunch of housing innovators and experts in there to stimulate the conversation, but the choices are really up to you about where you want to drive change in your community. So those are just some examples of some of the things that could come out of this type of a housing innovation summit.
I guess the other question I got is, so you said Newburgh was 13 months ago. Has there been any houses built or anything like that?
Yeah, so it's we have 3 projects, actually, well, 4. 3 are under construction. The other one is real slow. But yeah, so Providence Hospital is one of the employers that was there. And they have launched I'm forgetting the unit count, but it's over 40. So 40 unit on land they own, housing project that is now underway. George Fox University is doing a project for their employees on land that they own as well. And that's a little funky in terms of like how the housing is constructed. Friendsview Retirement is they have over 400 seniors in their care. And they're real good at building senior housing. What they don't do is build housing for their employees. And so their employees they're pretty lower paid on that middle income scale. They're driving over 45 minutes to work because they can't afford to live in Newburgh. So they're starting small. They're doing a 2-unit thing because they just never did it. So their risk tolerance is low. The mayor this is the one that's, I wouldn't call it launched yet, but the mayor decided he wanted to do a project that's more rent to own, to encourage renters to get to build a nest egg so that they can become the owners of the properties that they are renting. That one's, I think, still gestational, if I'm being honest. And then the other one is a 68 unit project. They've started to do site work, but they haven't started to actually build the buildings yet. They have to go through their urban renewal authority still in order to get the dollars needed for some of their infrastructure. It's a pretty big lift in terms of water, sewer, road, and sidewalk. They haven't dotted all their I's and crossed their T's just yet. So I guess the answer is it's underway. Nobody's living in any of those units just yet.
It looks like there's a comment down on this. Okay.
How do I?
We're good. All right. Any other comments or questions for Mr. Walker? Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next pre-arranged presentation, which is Premier Tire and Lube.
Wait, can I pop in? Do
Absolutely.
you guys need me for anything else?
No, you're good, Nate.
No, we're good. Thank you.
Okay, it's almost 11 over here, so I'm gonna go to bed. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you. Good night. All right, did you want to come to the podium and use the microphone?
Okay, I wasn't aware of having a presentation, so I apologize for this, but I thought I was here just to answer some maybe questions about the surplus property we were just looking at earlier for the 3 properties in a row there. I think I had actually put an offer in on the 4th also, if you had a record of that. It was across the street to the west as well. I don't remember that exact property name, but I think it was there as well, just to correct that. But I didn't know if anyone had any questions about this, or I really don't have a presentation, I'm sorry.
But if you could share the details, Chief, if you could just pull up the lots and then just give details about what your plans are in the lot on with the land?
Yeah, so it is the splash pad there. We've been looking down here quite a bit. This land seems to fit our business the best. We have a full service tire shop, including semis, things like that. Quick lube, and a car wash as well, all connected into one building. So we're looking for something ease of freeway access, also as close to downtown as we could get. There's really not a lot of property that can be expandable like this. I believe that's around 3 acres. It's about what we need. That's about what we have now and from Pendleton. So we are looking to expand this way. We service a lot of farmers, ODOT, a lot of state vehicles, sheriff vehicles, fire vehicles, everything. We do pretty much everything under car.
Does anybody have any questions?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
So what do you say? Now, what were you saying about the contracts with the police and the fire departments?
So yes, we do all their oil changes. We have fleet accounts, so it's very simple.
So you're expecting to hopefully get
Bid on those. is what-
in our area?
Yeah,
Okay,
keep it local.
so
Same with tires.
where's your place of business?
So we are 910 Southwest Immigrant Avenue in Pendleton. We are across the street from Weimar downtown in Pendleton.
Okay, so you're not up on the hill.
Or you think it's Southgate?
I don't know. The
Probably,
name's
that's,
Stockton or something.
we started in 2009 up on Southgate. We built a new facility in 2014, down across from Weimar.
Okay,
This might be what you're thinking of.
okay, so you have a substantial business in
Yes,
there.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Are you from some other area?
I'm from Pendleton.
Okay, so that's your main headquarters.
Yes, ma'am. So
Okay,
we're looking
so
to
you're not like
expand.
West Swat, I guess is. or-
Maybe someday. Maybe
Or would you
someday.
do that, don't you? Yeah, well, and really being on the spot and doing the service is the key,
Yeah.
so.
That's actually what
Sure.
started my career, strip flush for.
So. Because we've. As this counselor, I don't know what you've offered at all, other than you were interested.
Okay.
So what I wanna know is, I heard, the city manager quote some prices tonight on what that property was appraised at. So are you still in that ballpark?
I believe we're right in the middle. We were at 100,000 per lot, I believe is what it was. Right in there. There was kind of a big gap there.
Yes, there was. Yeah,
So you're wanting to buy all 3 lots? I was wanting to buy all 4. All 4? Yeah. The ones where, is that the parking, the dog? So it would be the one to the west. Oh, to the west. Of 3rd Street.
That's the soccer field and splash pad.
Okay.
you know, at 100,000 times 3 lots, that will not replace this splash pad.
Probably
Pretty close.
Yeah.
in today's
Pretty
world.
close. I understand pretty close. But it's, so we are giving up a splash pad, and that's always been we always have known that those lots were for commercial use, that we just put those things there so people would know that there's something to do in Boardman. And so that you could see that we actually had city here, so.
Well, and I believe there's housing development going in behind it, maybe.
There's talk.
There's talk. Okay. Sure. So noise is probably a consideration for people as well. But we would plan on putting up a block wall as well.
On the back?
Correct.
What's the number of staff that you anticipate needing?
22.
And,
Right.
and are those gonna be filled already, or is that like we would
So
all?
we would move a couple
Fill
of
some.
personnel down here to start it and obviously do the hiring and the training, everything, so. All in the plan.
Do you anticipate any issues once you get into business, staying in business?
Cause I know at one time, what was it, there was a guy from Pendleton that owned Boardman, it was called Boardman Tire or Tire Factory. And he was from Pendleton, and, you know, and I'm not saying that you were him, but he did talk it up, and then when he came in, the prices were exuberant, and when he was out of business pretty quickly.
He didn't have any staff, he could
Yes.
not staff it.
I think one of the current firefighters, one of the staff members at one time,
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but that was, yeah.
So he actually owned a tire factory in
Pendleton, that's why I remember.
He just closed the doors on that.
Okay, so you did not anticipate that happening.
Don't know, I don't know him very well. To really know him.
No, I'm talking about you.
Oh, sorry, no, I don't, sorry.
Thank you.
I was trained by Les Schwab.
So you know
Throughout
that's
the beginning of my career. So that training was very stuck into my head.
Does anybody else?
I guess one of my questions more or less is. Why are you looking at that area, something off like Tower Road? Well, we want to be as close to downtown as possible. There's a lot of land covered by power lines down there, so it's very limited on what we can do. As well, and that seems like it's too far out of town for our business. Yeah. But so you also say like semis and stuff like that, right? Yes. The Front Street's not suitable for semis. The roads are that. Now you're gonna throw more semis on that bit. Right? I believe you have interchange plans in the next year or two for make a right turn in, right turn for what we're doing.
And redo Front Street.
The redo Front Street, and then you're gonna have a torn up by semi. And it's stuff that runs through my head. Coming off Front Streets or the freeway right there is already kind of screwed up. What I'm getting at is you're seems more industrial type of stuff. Which should probably go, my thoughts, in the industrial area. That's what happens.
So you're saying right down by one Weston?
Somewhere over there where there's actually semis, ease of access off the road. That's what Tower Road, they have truck stop there. They're used to crowd load of semis going through the port. There's a crowd load of semis going through. Front Street doesn't seem to be that place. But you get ready to put up hotel and stuff like that. Bunch of semis through there. The Stage Center and stuff like Stage Center there, right? It's getting ready to be big conference room. With the expansion, stuff like that. How does a semi shop play into that? The semi traffic is very minimal in our business compared to car and pickup. As far as that's concerned.
I think currently a lot of the semi-traffic do go to Love's.
They do.
Because they have
tire
a full
service.
tire center. I guess how much
A large
semi-traffic,
portion of our business is retail, car and light truck.
unless Schwab is, I guess if you use that as an example, is on 395, right in the middle of town. You know, so. And so is the other one. I think there's a tire factory in Hermiston too.
Yeah.
Down the street from there.
Right on the main drag there, so.
What kind of a car wash were you looking?
So ours now is a fully automated one.
You mean one I can drive through and it's gonna wash my car?
It does, yes. It's
I
not
don't
a
have to do
touch.
this.
Correct.
Okay, that's pretty.
We have employees that pre-wash it.
That's a selling point.
I see that.
Anybody else have any other questions? All right, so we are going to.
There's a lady in the audience that would like to answer something, and she's standing
Oh,
behind the man.
If this increases the flow and you're going to put the splash parks down on that same street, isn't that kind of a hazard for children and
We're moving the splash pad over here.
Over back
on this side?
Yeah, right.
Over here on where the park is.
behind this
Park here.
building that you're sitting in.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
that's where it's getting moved to.
oh, okay, all right, just making sure. Because I thought you said, yeah, talking about it on the other side.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're talking about just the splash pad, but there is also the skate park. What's gonna happen with that?
All right,
I just took my grandkids there last weekend and they had a blast.
We're looking at taking that to the marina. But I mean, right now is not necessarily the time to, go back and forth, but the marina has been a thought to move the skate park. But yeah, and it's different.
But it's gonna be blocked by all the traffic that's going to the tire lube semis.
I would think it would probably be moved before that. Yeah, that was just gonna happen.
I think what they're considering is moving all of that that's in
At
that
the same
area
time.
to somewhere else. That maybe, like here, we have quite a lot of kids in this section of town.
Heather? Oh,
Oh, sorry.
so I understand that there's still a park to be built back here, and that's where you were going to put like all the recreational, fields, the soccer fields, all of that sort of stuff off of the backside of, the other side of Baylor, back to
We're
there.
gonna get to that in the public comment section.
Oh, okay.
Got it.
So couldn't all that stuff be moved to there?
We can talk about it when we get to the public comment section, when that comes up. We'll talk about
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
I have a question. There was just a mention of a lot of the children being in this area. But our schools and the rec center and the safe center over there. So there's a heavy flow of children over there also. That probably should be taken into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
All right, we're gonna move on to our action items, resolution 15-2024 surplus property. Surplus property, as we had talked about earlier, is the old shop on 206 North Main Street. Is there any questions in regard to the resolution?
It's the old shop and the price of one.
Correct. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
Can you instead of saying the old shop, say what it's next to, because I was not here when it was a shop. So that doesn't give me any,
It's right next door to Banner.
thank you.
I move to approve resolution 16-2024, resolution declaring surplus, real property.
I second that.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so now we're moving down to action items, other business. I believe Brandon, you wanted to discuss the missing middle housing fund?
So, like we did the first phase, with the missing middle housing, I am requesting a consensus to move on to the second phase. As he shared, this really is the culmination. With the whole point, like Karen mentioned, we want to have Boardman represented. That's where we go get Boardman represented. It's having landowners and developers and, all the council there. It really is a time to go and like, hey, these are the thoughts. Hey, I don't agree with this. I want to see, this is where we get together and have those. It is a longer day. But I think it's a very important thing to move forward with this process. So I'm requesting that we can continue on, at least go to.
Are we paying this person for a fee for developing yet?
It's a general fee that overall, it's.
Any other comments?
So when you talk about moving forward, you're talking about that August 6th date, correct?
Yep.
And is that gonna be open to everybody if we want to, or is it gonna be?
Who we invite, so a lot of it, you're gonna have like the business owners, you're gonna, have those companies that are involved, you're gonna have the Tillamook's, you're gonna have the Oregon Foods, the rec district, you're gonna have 3 Mile Canyon Farm. You're gonna have the school district, you have the council, you have, various people.
Are you having real estate people
Real estate, I've already talked about.
and the bankers?
I have not talked to bankers, but again, I need your agreement and then we can do that. I'm sorry.
No, you're.
Yes, great. Yes, great.
So do we have a consensus to continue?
No, it is.
Yeah.
I move that we have a consensus to continue.
I don't think it
doesn't?
We
Okay.
just all
That's
have
why I
to
was
agree.
wondering.
Say go for August 6th. Fine.
I mean.
So good.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's,
So,
yeah.
so again, I cannot emphasize enough, it is a long day, but we just need everyone to be there.
Is the AC gonna work?
I don't know.
It was a joke.
Yes, it will.
It was a joke.
Okay,
Okay, so next item is the premium tire and loop.
so, I have resolved that when I just don't want to make all the decisions with that. That's the whole purpose was for to hear the tire and loop, because you guys should be making the decision where we go. With some of these, so it really is. What would you guys like to do? Is this something that you want to further discuss? Is this something that you're like, nope, we don't want to do a loop there, I just would like some.
Karen brings up a good point about cost, you know, with moving the splash pad and potentially even the skate park. You know, that sort of discussion, and I think Boardman is long overdue for something like this. Like, I'm tired of driving around this thing, I'm sure everybody else is too. That's just my 2 cents.
I have concerns about the location just because of the Sage Center and, you know, anybody coming off that freeway right there is gonna have to hook it around right there, and it's already pretty dangerous, and it's just gonna increase the traffic on Northeast Front Street. Plus, as you mentioned, the cost of moving the dog park and, well, mostly the splash pad, that's gonna be expensive. But the Sage Center's down there, the convention center's down there, the rec center, the Neil Irving Learning Center's down there. That's a lot of kids, and that's gonna increase the traffic on that road exponentially. And, at this time, I don't see any other roads that are gonna be utilized other than that road to get on there. I mean, maybe in the future, we had talked about, adding more roads to, you know, punch, what Boardman Avenue through and that kind of stuff, but we're not there yet. So that is my concern about that particular location. Any other location where there's less children, less traffic, I can see it going there, but I don't think that's a very good spot for it.
Wasn't there also talk of, what is it, that side road by, where the old Blue Mountain building is, and where the church is gonna potentially go? That's a road that's gonna go sign there and connect all the way over there, I believe.
Second.
I don't know what the name of the road is, but I believe that's part of the deal, like that road has to go all the way through, correct?
That's correct.
So that would be an additional road just for, you know, just for saying that.
But we're not there yet.
Yes.
I'm right there with you. Time, I don't feel that's the best location for us to put that there. Yeah, there you go. That's how I feel about that. So,
I think, any growth, and I say this because we are looking at just the city of Boardman is growing. That any growth is gonna bring in additional traffic. And I think we already see that, which is why we're looking at different, you know, when we're looking at planning and we're looking at, infrastructure and things. I think maybe what threw off a lot of people was the mention of the semis being able to be serviced as well. And I think, I would like to just see the plan of, just because I'm a visual person, like where the entrance would be, what it would look like. I think that would give people a better idea. And if we are looking at removing the road, and so potentially that could also, we could also look at if that would just be redone as is, or if we would make some adjustments for that. But I think, when I look at all of the other cities that are much, not much larger, but larger than ours, they have that, right? And they make it work. And I think anywhere, we look at when it has to work for the business owner. The potential to be close to kids. Regardless of where we look at.
I also think that if you sell the property to him, that in the deed, there would need to be some kind of requirement that they build on it within 1 year or 2 at the most. This isn't a thing for him to buy for 100,000 a lot and then sell it for the higher appraisal value. I mean, our goal is to set and get businesses that are growing in Boardman if we're going to sell that property. For sure.
So. Is it consensus to get more information? Or is it consensus to sell?
I would say right now, I would like to see more of a bigger or better presentation of what's actually gonna go there.
Design plans.
I'd like to see more people be here than just us. The other two
Thank
be
you.
here. It's my thought. So we're not reading to.
Paul, did you have any comments?
Do I have any comments? Yeah. So my thought process is, I want a tire store, but I don't think I need to sell my land right there. Maybe that's not the best spot for it. I agree with you guys on whether or not, on the same as maybe we need more information. But if I had to say, do I want to sell the land right now? My thought would probably be, not right now. I would wait.
That's a wait, yours is a wait, I would like to wait and maybe try to find a better location.
I'm not opposed to that either. I mean, yeah, I want a tire shop, but. If there is another location left, we can get back here. That's, I mean, there's no harm in that either.
I can reach out to him.
Right. So, personal service agreement with the legal advice program.
Yeah, this is an actual, motion. This is for us, the city to continue to get legal services from LOC. It's an annual thing that the council needs to approve if they want us to get. I think it's 15 hours, something like that. It's a great resource.
It's something we've had for a long time. Long time. Perfect.
Can I get a motion?
Move to approve city manager Hammond signing personal service agreement with legal advice program with the League of Oregon Cities.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next is develop strategic plan.
So, thank you for coming. We don't see this enough, regardless of your thoughts or beliefs, I truly do appreciate the input. So this next one, this developed strategic plan, so we did the CIP, the 5-year. This is what we're gonna do within 5 years. That was more infrastructure purchases, things like this. Developing a strategic plan is the concept of what do we want the city to look like? What are some things we would like to see? And I think this is just a perfect time to do it. And so I'm requesting the opportunity to go and find someone to help us do that. So this is the time where we would go and we get a survey, like, hey, city of Boardman, what do you guys want to see? What are some things we want to do? I mean, there's just a plethora of concept that it's a very specific survey. It's very input driven. And then from there, it would be like, oh yeah, we did talk about, we want to do a quick lube, or, oh, really, the community wants a drive-through, car wash, whatever it is. But I think right now is a perfect time, and I'm requesting an opportunity to go and do that. Start the process.
Anybody have any questions?
I'm sorry, to clarify, you're requesting to put a survey out, or you're requesting to bring in somebody to help?
Correct. To help start the process of creating a strategic plan. And Carla and I, we're looking at doing an economic opportunity analysis, a housing needs analysis. The thought is to possibly piggyback, because those are also survey driven, that we could connect that work within this. It would just be a quicker kickoff.
Yeah, some of those are less survey driven, more data driven, but nonetheless, it's about finding data And sometimes that data is through interactions with focus groups or through a survey mechanism, sometimes it's literally finding data. But to understand, kind of where you're at, what you need, what you don't have. Get some community input into that process. It's about creating a vision and creating some goals and objectives and accomplishing and how to get to that vision that you have.
Do we currently have a strategic plan?
There are some older strategic documents that were done historically, but I would say, given the growth of Boardman over the past 5 years, they would be woefully out of date and probably not in touch. Particularly when you've got businesses who are saying, we don't have enough houses for the employees we want to hire, we don't have enough businesses for our people who live for a shop. I mean, we're hearing more and more of those kinds of commentary out there.
So are those other plans gonna be brought to the table, so we can just look at them?
Oh, they all will go through a significant planning process, so like the EOA and the Economic Opportunity and the Housing Needs Analysis, those are inputs to the comprehensive plan. All of that stuff goes through the planning commission, it'll have, probably some type of public advisory committee attached to it. Oh yeah,
You guys are.
you're gonna be unhappy in 2 years with the amount of process you've had to go through. Just plan on a lot of evenings. So,
Well, not necessarily that.
So this would be an RFP or something that you would put out for a consultant?
Go for 3 bids.
Okay, so I think the Fort does one of these pretty regularly, so would we ask to look at theirs, or would we try to see the same consultant?
So, the port uses FCS for their strategic plan, which they update every so many years. I would say their strategic plan is a little bit different animal than what we would be doing, because theirs is very targeted to industrial development.
I understand that.
Yeah, but, probably a similar process, loosely similar.
I just know they interview a lot of people and stuff, that it's not like coming and talking to 4 city councilors and calling.
It's gonna be an outreach, absolutely.
Okay.
So you're just looking for a consensus to start the process, correct?
Correct.
You guys are starting to plan it.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, so now is the part where we get to the public comment. So invitation for public comment, interested audience members are invited to provide comments. Anyone may speak on any topic other than a matter in litigation, a quasi judicial land use matter, or a matter scheduled for public hearing at some future date. The mayor may limit comments to 3 minutes per person for a total of 30 minutes. Please complete a request to speak card prior to the meeting. Speakers may not yield their time to others. If you wish to speak, please fill out a public comment testimony form and submit it to Amanda, so the city recorder. I will recognize those people wishing to speak. Any questions should be addressed through me. Please state both your name and address for the record when you come to the podium, as the hearing is being recorded. Please keep comments concise and to the point. And I have already received some. Is there any other ones that I have not received? Perfect. Okay, so our first speaker this evening is Ashley Barron.
Hello, I'm Ashley Barron. I live at 126 Southwest Eagle Drive. Today I'm speaking on behalf of the community members at the River Ridge Estates. I've resided in Morrow County most of my life, and now I reside in River Ridge for the past 3 years. And I came before you this evening to bring up several concerning issues when it comes to our homes and our HOA. The first issue is our HOA dues. Look at our itemized receipts from our HOA. They charge us fees for things like snow removal, and I've seen no follow through. And I believe the city of Boardman already provides a service to which we're taxed for. I've not seen a single thing abided by our bylaws in the past 2 years. I've seen other residents not do their due diligence and upkeep of properties according to bylaws. And as a resident, I'm concerned as I'm finding that the HOAs only are hurting those that upkeep their properties. And my next concern is the easements. I've been in contact with the HOA and the city several times about how they have been an issue in my neighborhood. They do not properly drain and cover our streets. I don't know if I have pictures, I don't know if you guys want to see them. But we informed the HOA in the city and they came and dug the easement a bit deeper, only to still have the area not drained properly and still flood the streets. But not only flooding, the easements have so much water in them, they become not only a great mosquito source, but a drowning hazard for my 1 and 3-year-old. Plus, when it snows, the edging on our streets are flat. And that now huge deep easement has become a wrecking hazard. For vehicles, this van almost rolled over this winter. So I urge the board to hear our pleas and consider putting storm drains or some other form of drainage in our communities. My next concern is the park area in our community in River Ridge. There have been several talks about putting a fence in between our community of Bella Vista and our community. And I was curious if that was the plan or not. And then I'm also concerned with there already being grass, if the plan is to put play structures or not as well. Our HOA told us that we had to come talk to the city to see if that was the case. We already paid $31,000 in HOA dues for this year, and I can show you that itemized receipts. For that common area park that hasn't been touched until this year, and the only thing they've done is put grass. But with children in our community, we have tons of children over there in that community. We would like to be heard in the fact that we would be in favor for play structures if possible. With all these issues and more that I don't have time obviously to address, I do have to state that I've tried several times to ask for a meeting with our HOA. They informed me that 30% of our community need to call for a meeting. I created a Facebook page for our community. I went door to door and found that several people had the same issues that I presented and agreed to a meeting. It was well over 30% of our community. But when I presented this to the HOA, they informed me that we couldn't call for a meeting because more than 30% of the properties were still owned by the builder. So they would not allow for us to call for a meeting or be involved in any way when it came to our community. They also randomly raised our HOA dues this year from $90 quarterly to $113 quarterly. And according to our bylaws, they can continue to raise them at their leisure. This HOA is managed out of California, not even a resident in Oregon. And we as community members will have no say for 20 years or when the last house is built. That is when they will allow any community member on our board according to the bylaws that we agreed upon. So my question would be, why would anyone ever agree to sign a building permit knowing that they give all control of these homes to anyone other than the citizens that reside in this Boardman community? So in closing, I would like to state that I see more housing developments being established in our community as it grows. And I just want to inform the city on the issues we've been having to help with decision processes moving forward in hopes that the same mistakes are repeated in the future. And as a person that lives in the community though, I urge those wanting to reside in Boardman do so with caution, as these new houses may look beautiful from the curb. They do have numerous issues with build quality and also with awful HOAs that only look to serve their own interests and not the Boardman community members that dwell in them.
Thank you.
I have these pictures. I don't know if you guys would like to leave them or not, but yeah, they're just the easement issues with the flooding before and after they fixed them. It's clearly still flooding really badly. And then here's the minivan that almost slid off in the embankment. And then the mailbox area is a common area where they are to remove snow, but they will not, they haven't done that clearly. And I also have itemized receipts and emails where they state we can't have a meeting. I have it up here, so I don't know if you want to look at that.
Do you think that's an inch of water standing out there, or do you think
It's
that's?
well more over an inch. My daughter is probably like 2 feet. It's more than half of her body.
Jeez.
This amount of water that's out there?
Yes, it's dug pretty deep, and my daughter, when she goes and runs in it, she's at least halfway in it.
So like up to her knees or something?
Yeah,
like-
for sure.
You're talking in the grass.
Yes, in the grass area. And then the street is probably like about this much.
So are we allowed to ask questions or?
Not.
Not, okay. Do you want to ask? Okay, Brent,
But we believe these are the city.
Okay, thank you.
that's why I was asking them.
What it says.
Yes.
So I did have some. That's it.
We'll leave these with the city.
Okay,
manager.
perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So our next speaker this evening is Taylor Whiteman.
That's Taylor Whiteman, 708 Southwest Mount Adams Avenue. Good evening, members of the City Council. My name is Taylor Whiteman, a longtime Boardman resident of 26 years, and I am a concerned homeowner in our community. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you all. I stand before you to express my concerns about the proposed resolution, which is not a resolution as of this meeting, to surplus the land that was originally reserved for public use, with now the intention to use it as affordable housing. While I deeply understand and support the need for affordable housing in our city, I believe selling this particular piece of land is not the right solution. First and foremost, it's important to acknowledge that there is a deed restriction on this land that mandates that it is used for public use. This legal commitment was made to ensure that the land would serve the community, providing a space for recreation, relaxation, and social interaction. Ignoring this deed restriction sets a dangerous precedent and undermines the legal and ethical commitments made to our residents. In 2009, there was a well-documented plans to develop this land into a park. Unfortunately, those plans did not come to fruition due to a lack of funding from grants. However, the intent to create a park was clear, and the need for such a space has only grown over the years. That was 15 years ago. The absence of grant funding at that time should not deter us from pursuing alternative funding sources and creative solutions to bring this vision to life. In conjunction with the grants, we are fortunate to have strong relationships with industry and our community and should work closely with them for funding as well to bring the park to life. Our community, particularly on this side of the highway, is in dire need of a park. There are no parks. The only park is a playground right outside this building, leaving residents without accessible outdoor parks. This land represents a unique opportunity to provide a much needed recreational areas that would enhance the quality of life for our community. Additionally, I must express my concern with the lack of transparency surrounding this resolution. While I acknowledge that the city council has discussed this in prior meetings, not everybody has the time to attend these meetings. We are a working town. Over the past week, I've knocked on almost every single door in my neighborhood, and not a single person has heard about the plan to sell this land. This lack of communication is deeply troubling and undermines the trust and engagement that are essential for a healthy community decision-making process. We deserve to be informed and involved in decisions that significantly impact our neighborhood. Thank you all for coming, by the way. You're welcome. Parks are vital to the well-being of our community. They provide a place for children to play, families to gather, and individuals to enjoy nature and exercise. Research consistently shows that access to parks and recreational areas improve mental and physical health, fosters social cohesion, and enhances the overall quality of life. This piece of land that is designated for a park or public use represents a promise made to our community. It is a promise that we would have a space to relax, connect with our neighbors, and enjoy the natural beauty of our city. Breaking this promise not only erodes trust, but also deprives current and future generations of these benefits, like my children. Affordable housing is undoubtedly important, but it should not come at the expense of our parks. There are alternative locations and solutions that should be explored to meeting our housing needs. We can look into redeveloping underutilized properties, repurposing existing structures, or identifying other parcels of land that do not sacrifice our limited parks. Moreover, integrating parks into urban planning is essential for creating sustainable and livable cities. The presence of parks can actually enhance the value of the surrounding properties and attract more residents to the area, ultimately contributing to the vibrancy and economic health of our community. I urge the council to reconsider the decision to sell this land and to honor the original commitment to our community. Let us work together to find a balanced approach that addresses housing needs without compromising our parks. By preserving this land for a park, we invest in long-term well-being of our community and ensure that we leave a positive legacy for future generations. I urge you to commit to building us a park. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to becoming more involved with my community. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you.
I think she did a good job.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Judy Smite.
Oh, got you. I have a big mouth, you probably love me. Okay, when I moved here, 46 years ago, way longer than a lot of you have been alive. Can you please announce your name? Oh, my gosh. Judy Smythe, 714 Mount Hood Avenue. Moved here in, 78. Okay. I was told at that time that the property that is behind Mount Adams was designated as a park. And I find it kind of interesting because it is in the deed restrictions that it's a park. And Mrs. Pettigrew did say that, today that at the tire, they needed to put on the tire place that wanted to come in, a deed restriction that said they had to perform within 1 year. I'm finding that this deed restriction's been there for years and years and years. And I don't know how many people, if it's just you guys that get to decide that deed restriction goes away, I don't know. And so that really frustrates me because it's always been designated as a park and we've been waiting and waiting. And, I had 5 kids and they grew up and they moved away, but I have 9 kids back and there's still no park. As a realtor for 25 years, I sold a lot of houses. I sold a lot of houses in Hermiston. I sold 7 houses in 2 months here in Boardman 1 year. So, I'm kind of aware, and I will tell you this, a park that's basically been on the books for years and years and years that will enhance the value of our property. If you put alternative housing in there, I don't care who you try to talk into the fact that that's not going to devalue our property, it will devalue our property. And I think that, it's not something to just be swept under the rug. I didn't know anything about this until Taylor came by on Thursday. When was it? Let's see. I'm an old lady. Anyway, like 2 days ago, he came by and showed me that this is a possibility. And I said, wait, that's not right. It's not morally right. Not only that, but if the deed restriction is gonna hold up for the tire company, the deed restrictions that's been on the books all this time should hold up for the members of the community. And there's people, I can't imagine, I have sold many houses on Mount Adams, the border to this park property. Wow, I would hate to look them in the eye and say, well, guess what? They're not gonna do a park. They're gonna do multiple housing. And I haven't done all my homework. I don't know what size those lots are. I know it's probably multi-family. I know because mine on Mount Hood is multi-family. So, do you have a 7,000 square foot lot and you're gonna put a duplex on it? So then that means how many people are gonna be living back there? Like I say, I don't think it's morally right. I don't think it's something that, I don't know how many people will make that decision, but there are people who have lived on that street that are here tonight. And I would think that they would not want to raise their kids. If they had a choice, they would way prefer to have a park back there and have all this. I don't know. You tell me. Duplexes, fourplexes.
I don't think there was any talk of fourplexes or twoplexes or anything like that.
Single family.
I believe that's what it was going to be. But it was still in the infancy phase. But the other thing, I'll make another.
You
can't build it for the price.
can't build it for the price.
And, okay, but anyways, another comment is until Sunday, at least me personally, I had never even heard that there was a deed restriction on that property.
Oh,
What I'm saying is, as of Sunday.
Yeah.
I did not know.
Now you know.
Now we know.
Yeah.
My point is.
okay. Well, I hope
When-
you take that into consideration.
No,
That's all I'm asking.
well, what I'm getting at is that when you read the deed restriction, it says like it has to be a park or it has to be public use. It's not just a park. And then in the paperwork, it says that it was initially intended for a middle school with possibility of a softball, baseball field, I think. And that there was possibility it was gonna be in conjunction with that, at least what I read from the 2009.
Let's need discussion.
And so what I'm getting at is I finally got to read it. You know, you read that, okay, there's a deed restriction from 1994 on it, but that wasn't until Sunday.
No, you didn't read it until Sunday.
Yes, see, that's what I'm saying. As somebody that was a little outspoken about this, I did not know that there was a deed restriction on that until Sunday.
You know, and just.
That's all I'm
We
saying.
need to move on to the next.
Okay.
Speaker, thank you. Our next speaker, Bob Martins.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Bobby Barnes, 712 Southwest Adams. I just have a couple questions, so I don't really have to speak prepared, but I noticed that the locations that a lot of us are here for, was removed. Can you guys speak to why it was removed?
Sure, so.
Please, I'm.
No,
pretty
I
open
don't,
to
I
this.
don't have a problem, so. Like the comment is, it really is a comment, you don't wanna go back because there's a lot that goes with this, but I will share this. There's the process that we're going through. In order to do anything, it's just about being prepared, that's all it was, it doesn't change their plan, again, we're looking for a housing that's more affordable, we have 3 areas that we're looking at that the city owns. And that was one of them, so those are the 3 that were listed, doesn't change anything, the fact that we surplus it now, we'll do it later. Again, like Councilor Rockwell said, had no idea there was a deed restriction. Again, there's no information being shared because there's nothing to be shared yet. I just, the cart before the horse, it's like, no disrespect, I really am trying to be very transparent. I don't want to take it back.
No, that's what I'm getting at. So since it was pulled, what was the goal of it being on the agenda?
To surplus it.
To surplus it, to put it up for sale. Is what
In
you're
order
saying.
to sell it, yes, you have to surplus it.
Okay, so what worries me about that is it has an effect on everybody's lives here, and nobody knew that. So my main questions are what are the requirements for letting people know that live in the close vicinity of where these major changes are happening?
Sure, so and the process that is established is anytime you're going to go and develop it and do something, that's what you would be informed of. For the sale of land, there's no requirement to let anyone know that you're selling your land or let landowners, correct?
Right.
So when you develop it, that's when you.
Once it's sold, what could be done to reverse it?
Say that again.
So once it's sold, what could be done after that?
So once it's sold, it just has to follow the format within the zone and it's multi-housing, so someone could go and do multi-housing. It has to be within the limits of the zone.
So
I
when
think this question is, what steps could they take to prevent the development after the property has been sold?
There are no repercussions.
So yes, that's the question. That's not what I think any of us really want to happen. My problem is that there was an obvious impact on everybody, basically everybody in this room, and there was no communication back. So is that pretty standard? Because if you go to sell the property and there's no way to go back from it, shouldn't everybody be here? Shouldn't everybody be a part of this? I'm asking also, what are the requirements? Are they in stone? Is there something that we can do to adjust these? Because I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels like this.
To make an adjustment, like, so if you're gonna sell land, to have some kind of
Well,
outreach.
commercially, if it's something that could have an effect on the residents around where the commercial sale is happening.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's a land or it's a.
So I think one way to think about this is if the land was owned by a private individual, you wouldn't have that right to have and input into what a private person did with that land. But I think once the land is sold, whoever owns the land, when land is sold, that's usually a private contract between two people.
Yeah,
Once the land enters into the development process, there's a very clear, a very clearly defined and it's embedded in state statute about how individuals are noticed if something is happening adjacent to them. So if a house, if you buy a lot in a residential neighborhood and want to build a house on it and houses are allowed as an outright use, you're not gonna get notice.
sure.
But if somebody buys property and they're gonna develop a subdivision on it, you will get notice that there will be a subdivision action on that.
And then you would be able to go and have a comment like at a planning commission meeting or to share your concerns.
Sure, yeah, so that's, yeah, so if you're at a point where there's no. I mean, if nobody would have been here for it, we wouldn't have had a voice. And, you know, once it's gone so far and there's no way to come back from it. You see what I'm trying to get at here, and so all I'm asking is that gets.
And I do appreciate, and I really do, I love the feedback, but also understand. The other thing is, I live by a lot of you. Never hesitate, you can always come in, I hope you would know that. That you could come and talk to me about the concerns, anytime, call me, you guys all have my cell phone, please.
So is the understanding right now that we need to follow the minutes from the chamber meetings?
Well, not changing minutes previously. So I will say from what I'm talking about is February was probably the timeline when I first knew about.
That's the last one you were talking about.
Yes, February. My understanding was that Nathan Wildfire had came here previously, maybe I'm mistaken on that. So February, and then in March, we had our first meeting where we kind of discussed it. And then I think April is when he came and did his presentation. And then I don't know if we discussed much more beyond that until like,
Or May, and like he said, it's very early, like there's nothing.
Right, but it could have been different if it wasn't Poland, right? If there wasn't the community getting
well,
behind
I
it,
think it was
still would have been.
probably because we found out that
Oh,
there
yeah,
was deed restrictions on it and there was nothing you could do with it anyways, because if we did try to do something with it, it was gonna revert back to the county automatically,
Right.
according to the paperwork.
Yeah,
So that's, I'm only speaking for myself. That's probably why I got pulled, because there's nothing we can do with the land anyways, outside of what the deed says.
okay, so all I'm asking is that I'm part of it, and I'm sure I can speak for everybody in that moving forward. Something to do with our property,
sure, well, and not just that I would hope that, you
and
know,
I'm willing to help with it.
yeah,
however
and so
else
this
it be.
strategic planning that we're talking about, that is the opportunity.
Okay.
Come up and share, and honestly, we've done a lot of things, community outreach. Karen's been very adamant, and we have little to none that are, and I get it, like, when it affects you, you come out, but we really need to hear it more, but I absolutely, you come out, when it affects you, you need to share your voice, no problem with that.
That was my only question, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
I'd like to just make a comment because while we still have audience here. I keep trying to say that when we have nobody in the audience, that gives us the assumption that we're doing a really good job and nobody cares. That we're doing such a great job here that you're all happy about that. Well, I'll tell you what, you can see how happy you are now. So you need to start, it's your obligation to try to see what we're doing. I mean, we're just a representative of you. And if you don't come and tell us, we're thinking, hey, I always thought I was doing a great job because I never had anybody out there. So I might have been under a false pretense there, but so if you, even if you're just curious about things, just come and ask Mr. Hammond. You know, I mean, that's what we're here for, is to serve the public. We're not here to try to do things that would make our community worse. I mean, you know, that's nobody's goal. We want to live in a beautiful, we've worked hard to make our community what it is.
Right.
So, does that make 3 minutes?
Kathy Street is our next speaker. Just a minute. Don't let me just go on before.
Kathy Street, 655 Southwest Mount Hood Avenue. I said I was representing myself, but I should have said I'm representing the Oregon Trail Library District. We started having sewer problems in February and learned a lot about sewer and how to know where things come out of your toilet, what that indicates. My first call was to city, talked to, somebody at the city, and I said, hey, are we the only ones having sewer problems? They came right over immediately and said, nope, that's just you. 3 weeks later, happened again, 2 weeks later, happened again. A week after that again, the sewer people that we hired couldn't get far enough out from the building out to where the problem was. And I called the city, I said, can you help us figure out where the problem is? And I just want to say that the response from the city public works department was amazing and so helpful, because as a library director, I know nothing about sewers. They don't teach you that in your master's program. Thank you very much. We tracked down, through the help of contractors, we tracked down somebody that would come and work on it. And as you all probably saw, we had a porta potty for a couple months. And we got a contracting company here and they did the work and got it fixed. And now we have sewer. And they said, there's really no amazing reason why this didn't happen before, the way it was configured. And it was just so deep. That's why we had to have the contractors and everything. But I just want to say that the response and the help from the city of Boardman, from whoever answered the phone every time I called, and who came out, and who said, don't step any closer, you're gonna fall in there, you know. It was amazing, and we really want to thank everybody at the city of Boardman for getting our sewer going. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Lorena Bose.
Hello, my name is Lorena Bose. I live at 717 Southwest Mount Hood. I purchased my home almost 15 years ago, or over 15 years actually. I've been born and raised in Boardman for all of my life. I moved away for about 7 years to Eugene, so I have lived in a big town. I mean, Eugene's about big as you can get besides living in Portland. When I first purchased my home, the real estate lady told me that there was plans for a park. I thought, great, I'd be right next to a park. Well, that never happened. 10 years ago, we started having problems with the neighborhood kids because my property is on the backside of the apartment complex, I believe is now called Maple Leaf. Maple Crest, thank you. They love to play soccer between my fence and their homes. Guess what happens? The soccer ball comes in my yard on a regular basis, and the kids jump my fence to get their soccer ball back. I've had to resort to posting a sign that says no trespassing. And I've called the Boardman police, and they have been gracious and come out on every call. But they said also, since we are not home at the time when they jump our fence, we don't have actual evidence of them crossing our fence line. I feel that if we had a park in our neighborhood or anywhere close on the south side where they could go and kick their balls for soccer, play baseball, have energy to run, this would help my own home for nobody trespassing in my property. I appreciate Taylor for coming and letting me know, because I had no clue, but I also think he was very good at explaining what I could not put down on paper. I thank you for listening to me.
We have a couple of people in the chat that would like to speak. Looks like Stephen Buss has put his up first.
Hello, So I just came to say that like I have been here and I've been coming to you with issues. And so I'm excited to see that a whole lot of other people are here tonight to see, or like to bring their issues. And I encourage you guys to keep coming back and keep being consistent, because that is how we get things done, is with consistency and with that structure. And I feel like the council has been pretty transparent. Granted, like I said, I've been coming here pretty often, and I especially wanted to shout out Mr. Rockwell, because he does a lot of that through his Facebook group, and he comments on a lot of the questions that come up about the city, and I think that's an awesome job that he's doing. And like I see the other council people in the community as well. And so I guess my question is, what are you guys doing to educate the citizenry on how those processes work? Like, what are you guys doing to go out into the public to encourage people to come to the city council meetings? Because like, I know I've posted about them. I've seen Mr. Rockwell post about them. And so, yeah, like, I think you guys are doing a decent job. You're listening and you're doing something about the things and the issues that I've brought up. And I really appreciate that. And so I encourage the rest of the public to keep doing that. And yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Can I just make that comment? This is just perfect segue since everyone's here. If you can please pull out your phone and Amanda will tell you how to do it. But if you go to the city of Boardman and then you go under how do I, and then do news, sign up for news and notification. I don't see anyone pulling out the phone.
So them already signed up.
Everyone signed up. So if that is how you get notified, everything is in that news and notification. It will do push notification to your phone. It will do email. You will hear everything. So how do I?
And then if you click on the site, if you go to the website and you go to meeting minutes or whatever the link is or whatever, it pulls up the agenda, pulls everything up. Or you can come and see me whether or not you want to buy anything. Come and talk to me. People that know me know I know how to talk, right, Mario? Okay, you sat through my coaching speeches, okay? I have no problem explaining things to people with whatever it is that I know from this part. I actually enjoy that. Okay, I don't do this for personal gain. I enjoy working with people and explaining these processes because it's interesting to me too. I'm learning almost at the same rate you are at that point, so. Anyways, thank you.
And we're working on trying to do it, and it's not on the mobile. Where do you find on the mobile to sign up for it?
Yeah,
You gotta go to the top left, 3 bars, and it says, how do I?
Well, maybe we'll post that on our website.
I can
Do a
post it
walkthrough.
again, yes.
Do a walkthrough, make
I
a
can
walkthrough.
post
You
it
gotta
again.
get in there. There you go.
Well, I guess you can get to the website, but you can't get to anything past it.
Okay, we have one more speaker that would like to speak tonight. Jonathan?
Yes, hello. My name is Jonathan Tallman. I'm just publicly speaking. There's quite a bit of comments there that I would really like to get known. My name is Jonathan Tallman. I've lived in Boardman. I went to high school here in Riverside High School, and my parents have lived here since 1978, about the same time Judy Smythe moved to town in Boardman. I own property inside the city limits of Boardman, and one of the issues that I had is that one gentleman, I don't know his name, talked about getting notified. The city changed the codes where they went like 200 feet notification down to 100 feet notification. So it's really deceptive when those things kind of happen, and it's not really being truthful about why and how that's gone. Another issue that I think needs to be aware of is when they talk about the employers. Amazon is probably the biggest employer of contract jobs, and why wouldn't they be on that list of businesses in the area that are majorly causing the demand and basically our town turning into an RV spot? And we have to talk about these things because our housing prices and our rental houses are outgoing. I love the city of Boardman. I'm excited to be here, but you really talk about it. I have talked to Brandon. He has been accessible. But really have to talk about how much money we are really making and how and where our infrastructure money is really being spent on. I talked to Brendan about the utility electric fee usage and that he didn't realize that mainly TD 90 inside the city limits. And that affected me personally. But that was one reason why I went to meetings 2 or 3 years ago, almost every one for a whole year. And Karen, I went to those meetings, tried to get you to work with me, and I was ignored the whole time. And now I just watch the minutes and I read the minutes and I watch the video because you guys are going to do what you're going to do. And, consequences, everybody else has to live it with them after it is. Again, I understand this is a progress of growth, but you still have to tell the truth about what is happening. I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan. Our meeting normally goes till 9 o'clock. Did we want to extend the meeting or did we want to cut it off in 15 minutes? We're getting ready for the reports and correspondence and discussion piece. I'm sorry, Seth?
I didn't sign a sheet, but my name's Seth Lear. I live at 643 Southwest Palmetto. I just want it known that I'm in agreement with Mrs. Smythe, Mr. Whiteman, Mr. Barnes, everybody that spoke. I hear those, their testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So does everybody want to extend to 9:30? So we can get through the reports. I don't think we got through the reports last month.
No, we have the executive session.
And we do have the executive session.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why don't we just skip the reports?
I'm just skip the reports.
Minus the mayor to work.
You mean the city manager?
You're right, city manager.
You want to just jump to the city manager report and then we'll go into executive session?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You are welcome to stay. Yeah, you might want to hear what city manager Brandon has to say.
Okay, so we're gonna go. So, I'm not gonna be able to. Thank you. Okay. So, Amanda went to a recent training to get certified that will take 4 years or something. 3 years. As part of her training, she learned that best practice for taking minutes, when you have a recording that is posted, the best practice is to do what is called action minutes. So it's this person made a comment about, just very concise. Do you want to explain it real quick, Amanda?
So what action minutes are, is it basically goes down the agenda and you put a timestamp from the video. And so we took roll call at 7:01. We did public comment at so-and-so. These are the people that spoke. And that's it. There's timestamps and it all reflects back to the video. The motion was made by who, what the vote was. That's what action minutes are, and it refers back to the video. And it takes a lot of the interpretation out of minutes. So what we've been historically doing is summary and detailed minutes. And this takes any chance of interpreting what you said. When I'm typing up the minutes, I'm not interpreting your thoughts. It's straightforward. This is what was said. Here's the video. Action minutes.
So I'm proposing that we move towards that. It would save a great deal of time. Again, we put, when are the video, when did we get on the website, the video?
I try to do them with. So if I can't get them on Wednesday, they're usually up by Thursday or Friday.
So it is just instantaneous. I'm opposed. Opposed for absolutely, for what purpose?
I think, I don't want to come in here on a city council night and have you hand me a set of minutes that say, I said at 8:02 that she didn't like this, and then I'm expected to go home tonight and watch the video of what I said a month ago with no. Every time I had a city, I would have to, if I was coming to city council, I would have to do all of that before I got here. When you send out the packet, I would have to go and look at all, everything that was said in that meeting that was the time before. I just don't see that as a very working.
Okay, any other concerns?
Not concerns, just my thoughts is we don't get them now, we have it electronically, but I think it does reduce errors. So when we're approving minutes, the times that we have, come back and said, we'll approve it with this, with this correction, it's because there's been a mistake that we found, and I think that would just reduce the mistakes. I'm sorry, that it would reduce the amount of times have to approve minutes with corrections, but it does require then, if somebody, not necessarily us, I think, because we're here, but if somebody wanted to know what a community member said, or one of us said about a certain topic, they would have to go back and watch the video.
And they would have the timestamp that says exactly where it's at.
So do I not understand this then? So tonight we came and we had minutes and they said blah, 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 blah. And I read it. And yeah, that's what we said. So next month, I'm gonna get minutes that say at 8:02. We passed resolution 840. And then I'm gonna go to my computer and I'm gonna look up on the website my minutes and agenda from that meeting and go down to the 8:02 thing and see what went on.
Yes, I believe she explained it correctly. Yes.
So
I think it makes it easier, not only for her, but I think I also think it would make it easier for audience members that are trying to understand what's going on. So when we say we discussed this 4 months ago, they could go, okay, at what time 4 months ago, and they can click right on it, and it'll say exactly.
It's not gonna say 4 months ago.
No, what I'm saying is we could say 4 months ago on this meeting at 8:02, this is when we discussed this, is what I mean.
So it basically takes like,
It's streamlining.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is streamlining it, so it will probably take 10 minutes to do the minutes.
So if,
And it'll take me 2 hours to go back and, so I just as well, every meeting, just go watch the video from the last meeting. And call it my minutes.
Aren't you retired? You got all the time.
I'm busy supervising everybody in town, what do you mean? How do you think I come up with all those ideas?
All right, so we have one no, and
I'm okay with it just because I understand why it's streamlined.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I see exactly where Karen's coming from, but.
You guys all better have, I'm gonna quiz you. To see if you went and read it.
so the consensus is to go to the action.
I think Paul has a question.
Oh, Paul, sorry.
Hey, Amanda, is there a way that to do maybe a modified type of this to where stuff that doesn't need a comment, doesn't have a comment, but where we have a comment, it will be in the minutes? Like if we vote on an action, there really shouldn't be anything, but if we have a discussion, maybe we need to have those things in the minutes. I don't know. I was just wondering if there was a way that we could have a little bit of both.
so that specifically is what they tell you to avoid, because it opens it up for interpretation. So that's me interpreting what your thoughts are specifically on a topic. Because I'm not supposed to do verbatim for minutes, I'm not supposed to do word for word. So when I'm summarizing what your discussion is, that's me interpreting. So it reduces the amount of liability for any reason.
So technically, we just have
Attorney
to go,
recommendation.
so technically, we just gotta go back and watch the video again to make sure that that's technically what's being asked.
Because the practice has been that we are doing video, recording video, posting video, that is becoming our public record of the meetings. So the minutes would then reflect the video. The minutes are still your official record of the meeting, but it references back to the video.
It's because before COVID, we weren't doing this.
Correct.
Now we are. And
Correct.
it's gonna be more accurate because it's gonna actually, there are words being said.
So really, we got one of two options, It's either go this route or get rid of video,
Correct.
right? We already agreed we want video,
Yes, we agree. Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go with action minutes then.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so just real quick with the voucher program, I really would like to get some input. So, in 2023, we did 3 months with 358 vouchers. The cost was about 9,000. For this year, for 2 months, 227 vouchers, the cost was 16,000. I checked we are charged by the county, and the way that we are charged is by the tonnage. And they do it with specific containers as best as they can. So the gentleman will say, go to this container. When they come and pick it up, it's recorded that containers 4, 5, and 6 are from the city residents. We don't get charged for the metal, the wood. That's so the question is, again, and I've shared this before, we are extremely unique. There's no other city in Boardman that does this, in Oregon that does this. So there's your information. If you'd like to keep going, again, we talked about doing it, the 2, 2, and 2. We have in the past been 1, 1, 1, 3 times a year. The cost.
3 times a year, 4 times a year.
3, it's been 3 times, correct?
Well, it wasn't, it was only 2 until maybe last year or the year before.
And then this last time it was for 2 months.
2 months, and then we talked about doing the 2 and then possibly doing another. Just saying,
Basically,
but this is
6 months.
if we talked about doing it, correct? Now, this is, again, the price, the increases there, so. But we don't have to make a decision now, but,
Can we go back to number 1 on your,
yep, I'm getting to that. So any,
Can we discuss that one at all, or?
yeah,
garbage special?
yeah,
I'm okay with 1 month for 3 times a year.
So the original plan was because they were starting to dump in the city. Correct, there was becoming more and more dumping. So we opened it up to more times per year, basically, right? Has that helped?
so when I talked to Jose, he could not say like, yep, there's a huge difference.
Okay. Did you find out how much we're being charged a ton by any chance when you told me?
I did not, but.
Okay.
Charge.
So,
There was a suggestion that they could go in and weigh the individual and write that weight down. And then that's what we would be billed for they would just weigh it every single time. They would be willing to do that. That'd be the most specific.
that would be potentially better when you're looking at, 2 months compared to, or so 16,000 compared to 9,000.
Correct.
For 2 months compared to 3 months, that's a big jump.
So the reason the huge increase was just like we had a garbage rate increase, so did Morrow County, and theirs actually kicked in March, which of course was right before our voucher programs. And to start off with, Morrow County's rates are already higher than the city of Boardman's. So when they adopted their 37.5% rate increase, guess what? That hit our vouchers. So if the council decides that we're gonna do this 2 months at a time, so 6 months total in the year, obviously, we're gonna be looking at a supplemental budget. Because when we did our budget, we were it was before Waste Connections came in with their rate increase proposal. So for our voucher program, We've almost spent all of it. That was for the entire year.
Which
So
we still have.
regardless of if you're willing to offer even one more month, we're probably looking at a supplemental budget.
So what I'm worried about, or not worried about, right, it's 37%. Like when Brandon broke it down in the meeting, more or less, each voucher went up 3 times payment. When we broke it down by voucher for how many people bought or got the vouchers. Right, so it went from back before it was about $25 a voucher. To now it's $70.40 per voucher. And so it's almost 3 times the amount. That's where I'm kind of having an issue. But it's nice having free dinners. So. Yeah, I just wanted everybody to kind of see that it has been broken down. And before we make a decision, but
I would like to request that we continue the discussion on this, for our next meeting, just given the time.
Yep.
Because I feel like we have more things we'd like to discuss about.
Yep.
There
Well,
are
and I
more
think
charges than
tires
just tonnage.
Tires are the issue too, so don't forget. That's the real issue.
Can I say something? Maybe. Didn't the park department quit taking debris? This year? You know, the burn? So people may be taking more, the marina, the marina?
They did.
Okay, so now maybe that's caused more.
Maybe,
Dumping?
yeah.
Lisa, you have something?
I just want to make a quick comment. I'm very appreciative of the fact that you offer this. I think it was me at budget committee that suggested you go from 2 to 3. But I think the fact that your usage has gone up, you should think that that's a good thing. People are taking more care of their homes, and I think that's a positive for the entire community.
Thank you. And Paul said, it is a good program, expensive, yes, we will need to budget more to help the price.
And it does come out of your garbage rates. Or it's paid out of.
Okay. So yeah, we'll bring it up next. Council. So yes, on the number 1 that I have is I've done some research with the field house building in the back. From what I have discovered, the city owns the field house building. So when this initially started, almost literally when I was first here, I think people were wanting clarity, like how do you get in, how do you access that? I've had a good conversation with Lisa. I would suggest that, so the city owns it. We keep maintaining the same thing, but maybe we have the BCDA, who is the spearheaded, be the one that is the contact. They're the ones that would do the scheduling. Again, something like that, and just trying to have clarity that would say, hey, the field house is used for this. And I think that's what I have heard the residents at our meeting. So any direction, any thoughts would be appreciated.
I don't know how you think the city owns that building. When BCDA paid every dime except for the restrooms. Now, I will agree that we put it on city property as a community service type thing. But as far as the building, and there was never a deed or anything changed hands on that, it was just like. So
how it was presented when Lisa came, I was on the council, and again, I've talked to Lisa about this, is that it was presented that the city would be the owner. Like, that was the discussion. And then it was left.
So do you think that we should give that? What do you think?
I think we should maintain what we're doing, but then have some clarity around what is the purpose of the building? Who's going to manage the scheduling, go contact them? Just, all I'm asking for is clarity. And again,
So
Lisa,
does the city want to be in charge of that building?
I do not want to be in charge of it. That's my suggested BCBA.
I agree that the BCBA should be in charge of that building. For
Have
the
we asked-
scheduling and usage.
Have we asked the parks?
The
don't
parks, we have discussed
I
it,
know
yeah,
that, but I'm just saying, wouldn't that make more sense?
that is a possibility of doing that. And again, just with the clarity of it, just because of how it was constructed, that's why I go with the BCDA, the concept. So,
Can I add to this? So as executive director of the BCDA, I'd like to state that this has been a project that was built by BCDA for the purpose of softball and baseball in our community to expand our success and get our youth all the way through high school. It has a focus of that on it. But this has been a conversation within our board as well, and we are willing to take that on. We are willing to add it to a page on the chamber page where we will include this on the BCDA page, on our page. We will place who the point of contacts are, how to fill out a form, usage, liability, time of availability, and we'll get that schedule created and really kind of make that transparent to the community. And then we'll also on that same page, link there the Facebook page for the field house that not very many people know that it exists. And we will share those links.
And
just
also
give
has a current calendar on it.
and a current calendar, so we can share that information, so it's a little more transparent to the community, where we can provide that information. So if you have concerns that it's not gonna get used a couple ways, we can clear up and clarify all that. It's just something we haven't had. We just haven't done this until this conversation came about. And if need be, I think our board is willing to cover the cost of the liability and any of the costs, the monthly costs that come with it. Our board would be willing to cover those costs also for the facility.
Lisa, good.
I'm sorry. Real quick, Brandon and I did talk about this briefly. We may not agree on ownership, but we're willing to continue to work. As if BCDA is the owner and managing the building, we may enter into a $0 lease with the city. So that it's very clear that the city is not running the facility and it will get to continue to be used for baseball and softball.
correct. And the other thing is getting in the muddy water of like not having another entity own a building that is on our land. Again, that's what the concept of doing the lease would do. So again, and this is just what has been brought up. Again, it was a very good conversation that we've had, and I think just trying to have some clarity, people are wanting to have some clarity, knowing how to do it. And I think just simply like, this is what it's for. So. Are we okay with that?
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
There's really. There's really nothing else to bring up other than Karen. Who wants to talk about,
Chickens?
no, the antique,
The what?
the antique wagon. So there is concern. There's concern with the antique wagon of whether it needs to be removed or structured or built stronger.
Fixed,
Fixed.
repaired.
Yeah, we need to decide.
I think it needs to be fixed, because it's been a staple in this community for as long as I can
Was I think-
remember.
Was it Ed that put that
Yes.
out there in Glen?
I'm sure.
A long time ago?
I think so.
I think he kind of repaired it and put it out there, I think.
Yeah, he's another repair.
How about the, what is that, the gazebo or whatever it is, the whole,
And some repair too.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, I mean, the one thing is, the fear is people getting on it, and picture stuff like that getting hurt.
All
So,
through.
One homeless person's bed for a short period of time.
Yeah.
We can't have the kids climb on it to decorate it for Christmas. I mean, that's a.
I think it needs to be repaired.
okay, any,
I would say that they're, especially if you've been here so long, I haven't been here that long, so. Something people really care about.
An estimate of what that would entail.
we have an amazing crew that will repair
Okay.
it. So you have to repair? Okay. Is there some that would like to get rid of it? I don't agree with that. Um, and I guess the last, I need an evaluation. That needs to be done next.
Do you think
it's-
today's the best day for that?
Got it scheduled on August 6th, which is the same date as that community input session with the wildfire.
Oh, crap, I never seen council. Wow, that's stupid.
See, I'm sure you do it today, right?
That means everything, but I do need that, the hope is to yes, have it done by next session. If possible. Okay, Mayor Keeper does have the form.
That will be sent to us.
He has the form, if we can work on that.
All right. Okay, I'll speak to that. So Brandon, I'll make sure I get that done. And then what I was gonna do is I was thinking about sending my, a copy, not a copy of what I wrote, but what each person, I'll send the evaluation to each counselor. And they can write their comments on it, on what they want. I can compile all of that, and then we can kind of meet together and share what we have. Maybe we might have to meet with as an executive session and talk about it, finalize it, and then you can get your evaluation so you can get your raise.
So that's all I got.
Okay. All right, so at this time, we are going to go into executive session. The Boardman City Council will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602E, which allows the council to meet in executive session to consider real estate. Representatives of the news media and designated staff will be allowed to attend the executive session in person. The public virtual Zoom meeting link will be closed during the executive session as permissible. Executive session meetings are not subject to HB 2560. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session. Executive session is expected to last less than 30 minutes and no action is planned after we resume the council meeting.
Actually, there was every session, there will be decision, sorry. There will be decision after the executive session meeting on the agenda.
Okay.
And the script is.
So executive session is expected to last less than 30 minutes and we will be having action planned, may have action planned after we resume the council. Okay, so we're gonna go in executive session at 9:12 p.m. Yep. Okay, so we are back from executive session. We took no action in executive session and now we're going to.
For decision.
Yep.
So
Oh, yes, and we are gonna extend the meeting, probably another 5 minutes, you think? Be good, how about that?
So there is company that is interested in purchasing land on Tower Road. So I would request guidance on whether it's been surplused and all that to move forward with negotiations and selling the portion of interested land on Tower Road.
Any comments or questions?
Do what?
I think,
What I was talking about?
yeah.
I just want to make sure I was okay. So as far as negotiating for potentially excess to what they want to offer, can we talk about that?
Sure.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So I think that if we determine that we're gonna sell to a developer, that we negotiate for more. And the reason why I say that is we could potentially use that excess money to pay for other projects like movie, we talked about the splash pad maybe costing more. Use that to move the skate park, whatever excess stuff that we were talking about. So I think that would be a good plan.
Sure.
So Amanda, do we just need a consensus or do we need to make a motion?
I believe we just need a consensus. You're approving for him to move forward.
Okay, so
I would say go for, move to negotiations, and negotiate for a higher price.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Oh. I believe that concludes our meeting, so I am gonna adjourn our meeting at 9:42.